Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insight and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi, and I'm excited to be chatting with my special guest today. She travels a lot, so she really we're definitely coming from all over the world. I'm going to let her share with you a little bit more about that. But I'm your host, Heidi Schock, again. And if you're new to joining us on this podcast, please stay to the end because we have a little gift for you. And I'm excited to share that with you for being one of our new listeners. But without further ado, let me introduce my special guest, Letizia Alto with Semi-Retired MD. Welcome, Letizia, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you and to share my story and hopefully inspire some other people to kind of follow in my footsteps.
Yeah, I like I shared with you behind the scenes. I'm excited to talk about this. For me, I think it's perfect timing because this is something that what you do is something that I've been wanting to learn more about. So yeah, when I read your bio and we got to have you as a guest, I was really, really excited. So let's just dive in. Can you share a little bit about you, Letizia, and your company and your role within it?
Sure. So I'm actually a physician by training. I'm a family medicine physician and was working as a hospitalist, which is like the general doctor of the hospital, and read Rich Dad Poor Dad and got very excited about that. And actually had already started kind of dabbling in business entrepreneurship because my husband was very, very entrepreneurial. He was a doc and he was entrepreneurial. And so we had actually at that point in 2015, when we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, already had two different businesses before that. But read Rich Dad Poor Dad, got very excited about real estate. We had been saving up for a primary home, like saving up a down payment. And at that point said, you know what, we're just going to rent. We're going to put every dollar that we have into investing in cash flowing rentals that would make us income because we could see the path of as a hospitalist, you work week on, week off. We could see that, kind of laid out 25 years ahead of us. Wanted something a little bit different, wanted time freedom, wanted financial freedom, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners want as well. And so that was late 2014, early 2015. We started investing in real estate, started buying cash flowing rentals. And within 3 years, we were at the space that we're like, you know what, we could totally not work anymore as doctors and we would be totally fine. So for us, that was financial freedom. And at that point, as you can imagine, I was now working half time. My husband was a moonlighter, meaning he just worked extra shifts whenever he wanted to. He didn't even have a full-time job at all because he was our real estate professional. And we could talk about that too. But he was the person who had to do real estate more than our day jobs so that we could shelter our income from taxes using real estate. So we actually didn't pay taxes for 7 years, no federal income taxes using our real estate. So,
Wow.
as you can imagine, a lot of people were asking what we were doing in the hospital. And so we actually started a course in 2019, started teaching other doctors and high income earners, because they're interested in saving on taxes, how to invest in real estate, how to own their own properties. And that kind of grew pretty dramatically. It was 2019, 2020. A lot of people were stuck at home in 2020, and a lot of people took online courses. So that was Semi-Retired MD. That was that business. And we've now had like over 3,500 people through our courses and a lot of people who have gone on to achieve financial freedom, which is amazing. And then they get to work in medicine on their terms. And then a couple of years ago, 2 years ago now, we also started Fast Fire Capital, which is our passive kind of investment vehicle. So we go out and find properties and people are passive investors because we also know that not everyone wants to own their own rental properties, even though that's the best way to make money is owning your own. And then this year I launched Biara, which is my business for female entrepreneurs and helping them build and scale boldly. So I've got a lot going on. I've got three little kids, ages 9, 7, and 3. And I live in Puerto Rico half time and half time I travel. So I kind of built the life that I envisioned back in 2015, and it's been amazing. You asked about my roles. I'm actually CEO of every business. My husband is very, very involved. He does a lot of teaching and he runs our real estate portfolio as well. So that's the business that he runs. But I manage the teams and the operations of all the different businesses.
Amazing. Are you still working in the medical field with everything you have going on?
No, I actually ended up stopping my half-time job in 2020 when
Yeah.
COVID hit and I was pregnant and I had 6 employees already, and it was just kind of crazy. So
Yeah.
just decided at that point I needed to choose something, and so I stopped.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your journey and your story. I absolutely love it. I'm a single mom of two teenagers, and the reason I started my business was because I went from being a stay-at-home mom to now needing to figure out things out. And my why was I wanted to be home with them because I'd always been home with them. So I did
Yeah.
juggle two jobs while I was trying to build, and we've pivoted. You do the pivot thing, you kind of learn what you like to do, and then you actually also evolve and grow as you're growing and things like that. So I love the that you shared your journey and and how you've expanded and grown over the years too, and especially with little kids. That's not an easy feat for sure. I know as a mom, so kudos to you.
Yeah, I think as parents, we really are working with like two hands tied behind our backs. Like it would be crazy if we, had spouses at home who did everything and then we were like 50 and we didn't have any kids. It would be a different story. I think
Yeah.
any parent who's running a business really has to give themselves a huge pat on the back because you are running really effectively or running another business at home.
Yeah, for sure. So, can you share what does the term semi-retired mean to you, and how does it reshape the traditional narrative around success and retirement for doctors?
Yeah, so I'll tell you why we chose that name. It was really about not quote unquote retiring and sitting on the beach, because I think that's not really fulfilling. When you think about fulfillment, it's really you continue to grow and you have contribution beyond yourself. That's when you feel really good. And so when we achieved financial freedom, we took a year off to travel. I kept my half-time job in Seattle, and we would go back and I would work a bunch of shifts in a row. But we were traveling with our 1-year-old, and about 5 months in, my husband actually kind of burned out of travel, and he was like, "I just feel like there's so much we're missing. Like I don't know what we're doing." And it was kind of that lack of fulfillment in the travel because it was all about us, and it wasn't about anything big greater, right? There was no purpose really.
Right.
And so semi-retired MD really, I think, captures for us what a life of fulfillment can be. It's freedom. Of course, you can have financial freedom and time freedom, and you can work in whatever you want to work at on your terms. But my sense is a lot of people will continue to want to work. If you're 40, you have financial freedom. Are you really going to sit on the beach for the rest of your life? Probably not. So that's the idea of semi-retirement. It's actually getting to work on what you want to work. And what we see in our community is people achieve this financial freedom and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do mission work, or I'm going to continue to be a doctor, which is actually most people choose to continue to be a doctor, but now they're not staying in that toxic work environment, or they're cutting back to half time because that's really a full-time job. Honestly, being a half-time doc is a lot. And so semi-retirement is that. It's getting to work on your terms, but saying that, work and purpose and fulfillment is still really, really important.
Yeah. Becoming a doctor is not an easy feat in itself. So you have to have you have to have a passion for it and feel drawn and a calling to it. Not everybody makes it through that process. So I'm sure there's many that just don't want to just give it up, but it's nice to have that choice, right? That choice to say, you know what, I do want to scale back. Do love what I'm doing. I do love helping people heal and help them be healthy and things like that. But at the same time, they get to choose and they get to have a life outside of it instead of it driving them constantly. So, why do you believe you brought up real estate? And I want to talk into that. Why do you believe real estate investing is such a powerful tool for physicians seeking financial freedom?
Number one is it's not all consuming like a startup. You know what a startup's like. It really it's a lot. You've got to build all the systems and processes. You've got to educate the customer. You've got to hire the employees and train the employees. Well, with real estate, it's like you're buying a building. It's already a running business. All you're going to do is make it better. And you already have all the employees, right? They're already contractors. They're already property managers out there. There's agents, like people, and they're already trained up at their jobs. And you already have a customer. Your customer needs housing. If it's a short-term rental, you're a host and your guests want a cool short-term rental to stay in. So it's one of those businesses that is really easy to learn, really easy to start like right away because again you're buying a business that already exists and is already running when you buy a building, and so you can do it on the side. You don't have to say, hey, I'm going to completely quit being a doc. Like we have a lot of people who full-time docs, and They have large rental property portfolios. Some of them even like are full-time docs and have, 4 or 5 short-term rentals that they're self-managing because they put in all the systems and processes and all the automations to be able to do that. I think it's also really great to have diversification outside of the stock market.
Mhm.
I go to a financial conference every year, and one of the slides they show us is the average investor has 95% of their money in the stock market and only 5% in alternative investments, whereas the average ultra high net worth investor has over 60% of their assets in alternative investments like real estate. Right. And so if the stock market goes down, you still have wealth preservation. Whereas the average person, stock market goes down, they're getting poorer that day. I think it's really nice to have something tangible, and real estate is a tangible asset, right? It's never going to probably go to zero. And then also it's an inflation hedge because you've got your mortgage and you've got a fixed rate, presumably. And so inflation can go up, and you can still have an asset that's worth something. So for all those reasons, I really love real estate. And I just really enjoy looking for it too. I think it's fun. It's creative. It's a different way of, yeah, it uses a different part of your brain. I just quickly wanted to share there. I think of it in terms of there are 6 ways to make money in real estate. And if you tap into all of those, that's how you get those outsized returns. And so the returns of real estate, you think about the stock market, it's like 7, 9% on good years, but in real estate, it can be hundreds of percentages if you tap into all the 6 ways to make money. And we can talk more about those if you decide to, but I can quickly say it's forced appreciation is the biggest one, where you take a property and you make it worth more.
Mhm.
And you can do that very, very quickly, and you can force hundreds of thousands of dollars of appreciation. There's cash flow, obviously, where your renters are paying you every single month. Your mortgage is getting paid down by your renters if you're cash flowing. So your tenants are paying down your mortgage. Just another way you're making money. You don't necessarily see it in terms of cash flow, but it actually is adding to your net worth. There's immediate appreciation where you buy property and you get a discount on day one and you make money on day one. There's market appreciation, which you can't control. All the other things I mentioned you can control, but market appreciation can't. But you can set yourself up to get more likely get that market appreciation by buying in the right area. And then there's tax savings. And so, yeah, like I mentioned, my husband and I, we didn't pay any taxes for 7 years on our doctor income and our real estate income. And that was really, really helpful, as you can imagine.
Yeah, and that's really intriguing. And you mentioned that you decided not to buy and you rented.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we bought our first house together in 2022 when we moved to Puerto Rico because we had to for Act 60. But before that, we always rented, and we had 3 little kids and we were renting.
Yeah. And then you just took the money that you were making and saving and then were investing it into property.
All tax savings, all cash flow, and anything we saved on top of that always went into buying properties.
Okay, that's super super interesting. And as we're talking right now, this will come out later when you're listening to it, to our listeners who are listening right now. When you're listening to this, we recorded it in April, and I know right now, and I don't know where it's going to be when this drops in a couple months, but um, the stock market is has dropped
Yeah.
tremendously, and people I already see it online. They're freaking out about it. So, like you said, had they had 60% invested in other things besides the stock market, it wouldn't be such a stressful, scary moment because they know that they still have cash flow. And eventually there's some people are like, let's double down and buy more in the stock market while it's dropping. And then it's going to come back up again eventually. So it's a really good, like, I really like that you shared that. Like, don't be putting all your eggs in one basket and start diversifying. And real estate is a great place to be doing that. And as we're talking, I'm actually in the process of selling my house, and I decided that I want to rent for a year because it's been me in this house for the last 8 years and everything. Like, I need the break from the responsibility of it all. And I'm like, I just want to rent for a year. And now I get to take that money and go, okay, what do I want to do with it? And so that's another reason I'm loving this conversation because I got to chat with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Heidi. So I want to pull out a couple of things from that. I know a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs, and I think this is an important concept for entrepreneurs because most of us tend to take our money that we earn and we pour it back into our business. And then we only have one source of income. And if we sell our business, awesome, right? We'll get a big payout, hopefully. But what I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are 5 years later and they're like, first of all, they're bored because they're not fulfilled anymore. But second of all, they're out of money and they have no more cash flow and they have to do it again. And so, but if they had been taking a portion of their money and putting it into investments like real estate or whatever that produced cash flow along the way, they would never be in the situation they run out of cash flow. And so I think this is really important for entrepreneurs to hear is to make sure you're investing. Again, I this finance conference that I go to every February, Ray Dalio comes and speaks. And he's always talking about having 13 to 15 uncorrelated assets. And the stock market is one thing, but like, where are the other ones going to be for you?
Right.
And real estate is a really phenomenal one to definitely build, and it builds a lot of wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for professionals who are listening with demanding careers, what's the first step? Because it could feel overwhelming. What's the first step to building a passive income portfolio without overwhelming their schedule?
I think the first step is believing it's even possible, because a lot of people like think that they don't have enough time for it, or they think they don't have enough money, and they just decide that they kind of take themselves out of the game because they don't even think it's possible in the very beginning. So the first thing is to decide it's possible. Second thing is to decide your vehicle is going to be real estate, because there are other ways to create passive income. Again, for all the reasons I kind of listed, real estate was right for us. I would say the last one of why we really wanted our own portfolio, or actually last two. First of all, highest returns. I mean, it's crazy what you can do in real estate. Like I get to financial freedom in 3 years. Like that doesn't happen investing passively in the stock market. It just doesn't, like, unless you have millions and millions to start with. And we didn't. And then control. Like I wanted to own my own properties that I could control, that I could sell them if I wanted to, or if I had a busy year, like you're just talking about, how do you fit this in? If you have a busy year, you just don't buy properties that year, or you buy one property instead of 10 properties. Like you can kind of modulate it to work with your lifestyle. So once you decide, hey, yeah, real estate and owning my own properties is what I want to do, you have to get yourself educated. And when we started, we read a bunch of books, and we had the propensity to take action, which I think is really important. We didn't just read the books and sit in analysis paralysis. We started to take
Yeah.
action. But why we actually built our course was because we were trying to help so many people and we saw them not taking action. And we realized everyone needed structure and they needed accountability to get something done. And so that's why we built our course, actually, was to do that for people in our field to make sure they had success and got the result they wanted.
So let's talk about mindset because you brought that up, or you leaned into it. So for many high achieving professionals, they might struggle with shifting from that employee, mentality or mindset to entrepreneur. What mindset shifts have you seen to be essential for success?
Yeah, so mindset, of course, is the most important thing. I know you've had a lot of guests talk about that in the past, and yeah, I'm a definite believer in that as well. You have to decide to expand your identity, and
Mhm.
it really isn't that difficult because when you think about it, you are a mom and you're an entrepreneur and are a leader. So you already have many, many identities. So you're really just adding the identity of real estate investor. And you walk with that confidence of I'm a real estate investor. And if you struggle with that in the very beginning, you say I'm becoming a real estate investor. Now I don't know where it came from, but I decided I was becoming a real estate baron. That's literally what. And so when I would go into the hospital and people would be like, "Hey, what are you up to?" I'm like, I'm becoming a real estate baron." And I can't tell you how embarrassed my husband was. He was like, "What are you doing?" But I had this vision of building like something large that was going to be substantial. And the cool thing about taking on that identity is it changed how I showed up with my teams. So I literally would go, like, I went to our first property manager and I was like, "Hey, I don't have any properties yet, but I'm building something big here. I'm building an empire. So do you want to be part of this? And I'm going to buy multiple properties in this area. And, how many properties do I need to get before you're going to lower my rate?" Like I negotiated that right in the very beginning. So now he's like, my gosh, I want to be on board, right? I want to be on board with this person. They're going to be building more, empire. They're going to have multiple properties. They show up differently. So when you decide to show up differently with that confidence, with that identity shift, everyone around you shows up differently and you enroll them at a different level. They're inspired, they're excited, they want to be part of it. You have a vision. Most people don't have a vision.
Right.
And so if you show up that way, it really transforms how everyone interacts with you and it will make you more successful.
Yeah, and that's one thing. If you're listening, this I've heard and I've known this because being an entrepreneur, you start hearing this, and many people can't wrap their head around it. You become who you want to be before you actually become it. And so you leaned into it, and it can be embarrassing, but you have to own it. You have to know and care about what you want and not care about what anybody else thinks about it. And I love how Brene Brown talks, and I'm reading her book Daring Greatly right now, and I've been following her for years. And she's like, if they're not in the arena doing the thing, then their opinions don't matter. Unless they're in the arena doing the thing and fighting the fight, then they're in the stands, talking about you. Their opinions really don't matter because they need to be down there doing the thing too. And then I'll listen to you, right? And you had a dream and a vision, and you went after it, and you stepped into it before it was ever actually physically there. And that's how you were able to create it, because our minds don't know the difference. That's one thing, is our minds don't know what's real and not real. They're like, oh, okay, you're already a mogul. Okay, you're a mogul. Great. Let's bring it all to you. Like, let's help you make it happen. Like you did with the people that you were talking with. Like, this is what I want to create. What do I need to do in order to make you lower my rate? Question for you when it comes to somebody listening going, I want to do this, but oh my gosh, how much money do I need? Do I need, am I going to need it? Like, I can't afford to do that. I don't have the funds to invest. What
Yeah.
does that look like?
I think a lot of people think that. Even I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear the doctors. That's the number one limiting belief besides time for my doctor community is not enough money. So the thing is about real estate. So first of all, I will say all of us run out of money. You eventually you build this deal funnel and you're getting all these deals, and eventually you will run out of money. In fact, you will probably run out of money multiple times during your journey. And what you have to do is you have to become more creative. And so you can start this kind of creativity in the beginning, even if you only have, let's say, 25 or 50,000 saved up, you got to go educate yourself about all the different ways to finance things. And for some of the entrepreneurs, just think about some of the stories you've seen of people bootstrapping, real estate portfolios, and they're 20 and they don't even have a job and all these things. Like, there's always a way, is my belief. So, when you get more advanced, there's things like seller financing, there's partnerships. A lot of people will kind of move towards partnerships once they're running out of money. There's raising money, which is part of what we teach in our mastermind. Is we have this mastermind, we're focused on teaching our students how to buy any property, any size, anywhere. That's what we're doing, because it is absolutely possible to buy any property, any size, anywhere. If you find a good deal, you can do it, right? The deal itself. So, and just to throw out a couple other things, there's like FHA loans, there's a second home mortgage, which is 10% down. There is ways to buy a commercial property and negotiate credits back so that you come in and you put nothing in. Like, there's all kinds of ways to be creative. So the most important thing is get educated and start taking action. And when you run out of money, it's not if, it's when you run out of money, just know you're going to be creative enough to find more money.
I love that you're transparent about it. You're like, you're going to run out of money. There's going to be a point where you run out of money. No,
Run out of money
yeah.
so many times. I mean, we liquidated one of our 401ks. Like, we've done so many things when we run out of money, partnerships. So you run out
Yeah.
of money.
Yeah, and now you have a community. And the great thing about this is that we're going to share with you listeners how you can reach out to Letizia and learn more about how you can make this happen, like yesterday, not in a year from now. So I'm excited to share her info with you. So I'd like to switch gears a little bit, because you've grown, you've gone through this journey, you've run out of money, done all the things, you've gone through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and learning and navigating this new venture that you on to becoming this real estate mogul and baron that you've become. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced, Letizia, and how did you overcome them?
So a lot of them were mindset. A lot of them were limitations on what I thought was possible. And I would say that those types of things still come up. Ultimately, you are limited by what you think you can do or what you think is possible in the world. So those limiting beliefs, they are challenging even to recognize, because you think they're true. Just to give you an example, my husband had a limiting belief about getting bigger properties. So I remember when we were at 45 doors, and a lot of them were like duplexes and fourplexes. And he was just like, let's just sit back and pay these off, and like, this is going to be it. And I was like, wait, don't you want to keep growing? And he was like, no, like, I'm not a person who can buy, 100-unit complex. And so those types of limiting beliefs, they come up and you really believe them. And you look at all the risk and downside and you get really, really scared. And so that fear keeps you from taking any action. So I would say that that is been the biggest challenge for me. Of course, there have been challenges like properties where I didn't fire my contractor fast enough, or properties where my property manager wasn't doing a great job and I didn't fire them. I mean, I've had lawsuits, I've had fires burn down units. I mean, it's like in the there's all, you know,
Fires? Wow.
yeah, our job, our jobs as CEOs is to solve problems.
Uh-huh.
Okay. If there are no problems, then you're dead. And the goal is actually to have better quality problems over time, I think. And so, is it a better quality problem that you've had, let's say, 2 units of a 100 unit burned down, or is it a better quality problem that you don't have any cash flow? Like, I'd rather have 100 units and have 2 units burned down. So you got to keep that context and perspective. But just know that there will be challenges all the time. And what you're ultimately doing is you're increasing your threshold of control. So you get a certain amount of skill set and connections, and you have a certain threshold of control, and then things will come and they will be outside of your threshold of control, and you have to grow and you have to get there. So there are a lot of challenges, and there continue to be, and there will be coming too. And that's just part of it. That's part of the game.
Yeah. So now you've created this other new business where you're actually bringing on clients to help them learn, teach them what you've learned to do and you've done yourself with you and your husband. How are you getting in front of them? Let's talk marketing. What are the marketing strategies that you're doing that have worked for you? And what are some that you're like, we did that, tried that, but it didn't seem to really, like, what are you doubling down on? Let's talk there.
Yeah, so I will give you from all these three businesses that I've, started and built since 2019 now online, what works and what doesn't work. What definitely works is community, and building community and delivering value before you launch your business, and really helping to kind of create raving fans that really want your offer when you do finally roll it out. And so Semi-Retired MD started with an online community with Facebook, and you could build a community with podcast, for example, right? But not necessarily people talking back and forth, but it is a community of a following, right? Instagram following. So I think community is one of those things that will always be important, especially in the age of AI, because ultimately a lot of knowledge is going to be free or easily available, easily accessible, easily put together, curated. But community will not. That's the one thing, human to human connection. So I would say definitely build community. The other thing that has worked really well is affiliates. And so when we first started Semi-Retired MD, we had 3 people who helped sell our course, and they got a pretty large percentage of the sales, and they sold 65% of our courses. And so affiliates and those relationships, again, it's a relationship, it's human to human connection. Having those other people who have followings who are willing to get behind you is really, really important. We do Facebook ads. I have kind of mixed feelings about them. I think they have an ROI if you do them well, but I don't love them because they're so expensive. And especially if you have a small business, like that is definitely the cost can add up pretty quickly. I think always giving value is really the key. So whether or not you want to do a podcast, whether or not you want to have lead magnets where, people give the email and they get a piece of valuable information, whether or not you want to have blog or a newsletter or anything like that, or you're on Instagram making value add posts, give value, and that will build community, that will build know, like, and trust. And I do think podcasts actually are really important video because it allows people to feel like they know you at a different level than if they were just reading an article of yours. And so that's what creates raving fans. And raving fans are the people who never leave, who want anything that you put out. So I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I do love podcasting, and it's a great way because social media can feel like it's very saturated. I can feel like you're just struggling to get eyes on you and get your message out there. And I know many people are looking at, oh my gosh, my engagement's like not where other people's are. Where with podcasting, it's still a pretty blue ocean. And they get to know you on a different level. They get to hear your personality. They get to see you on YouTube if you're on there, or they get to hear you. Yeah, it's just a different way of connecting with people. So I think it's fantastic. What is one of your biggest goal for 2025 for one of your businesses, all of your businesses, for you?
So On the semi-retired MD side, we're going to start building out Tycoon, which is going to be our real estate business for high-income earners. So our semi-retired MD has about 80% docs, and then the rest are high-income earners. But I really would love to reach out and get to more lawyers or engineers or people who are really burned out at their jobs and want that freedom to be able to work on their terms. So high income professionals basically and I say high income because over 150,000 of salary, you really have no way to shelter your salary from taxes in any meaningful way except real estate. It's absolutely real estate. And so it really is a big motivator for people. I know we're recording near tax time too. It's a huge motivator for people. So that's a tycoon goal. And then my new business, Biara, is all about helping female entrepreneurs build and scale. And that one for me is really a passion project that I've been wanting to do for like 3 years, but just never found the right time. And it's just really about helping women make more money, make more profits, and do so with more ease. Because when you look at it, female entrepreneurs, they're like 40% of total entrepreneurs in the US right now, but they only make 6% of revenues. And I think that's really messed up.
Yeah.
And I really want to help more women make more money because I do think that with money, women really help make the world a better place.
Yeah, they can make a really big impact. And we need money. We can use the money to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I was able to give you a magic wand, Letizia, and you can wave it and take away one issue that you could foresee holding you back from achieving your goals, what would that be and why?
Oh gosh, I have to say you probably hear this all the time, but ultimately every challenge you face, it's a growth opportunity. And so if you took away one of those challenges that comes to you, you actually would be stifling your growth. And so I would actually choose to do none because I do believe that things come to me because I need to grow. You either get what you want or you get what you need.
Right.
And those challenges are there for a reason, I think, and they're to help you become a different person that you need to be. Like the reason semi-retired MD is not $100 million business right now is me. I have to grow, right? And if I don't have challenges, I'm not going to grow and the business will never get there. So I don't know. Probably most people answer that. I don't know.
No, actually, they don't. You're the second person out of 70 that have said that.
Oh,
2 out of
okay.
70.
Well,
Yeah.
there
I
you
was just
go.
looking at the numbers of how many interviews we've had for this podcast. And I think you're set. No, we started at number two. I think you're 71. And you're the second person that's said, I wouldn't remove the challenges because that's what got me to where I am now.
Yes, and
Yeah.
also it's what's going to get you to where you want to go is you
Yeah.
need those challenges. If it were easy and if everything went exactly how you wanted it to go, like you will never get there. And as much as it's painful and as much as, maybe you have some suffering in the moment, you need those challenges. You really
Yeah.
do. The obstacle is the way.
Yeah, and it's a choice. Like it's a mindset. You can choose to say, "Oh my gosh, why is why is this keep happening to me?" or "Why is this happening to me?" Where it's actually like you're sharing, "Why is this happening for me?" and what is the lesson I need to learn in order to get to the next level. And sometimes those challenges are there to actually push you forward faster than if you were just skating by, skating through. So yeah,
That's right. I mean, I do a
yeah.
lot of Tony Robbins work. That's actually, I've been part of his membership since 2019, and
Mm.
that's helped a lot. It's how is this life happening for me, not to me?
Yeah.
And that one really helps you shift quickly and start to look for solutions instead of like being stuck in suffering.
Yeah, I've learned to lean into that a lot, especially to like now so many people are going through so many challenges and I hope that message gets out there more and more and more because this is happening for you and in a year from now you're going to look back. We can't see the future and wonder and understand why this is happening for us, but we hindsight's 2020. And there's a saying and I can't think of it right now but by Steve Jobs. And he always talks about like how you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. We just need to trust in the moment that the dots will somehow connect for our future. And I just love that and lean into that whenever I'm having a challenging moment because I'm like, okay, it's a year from now, this is going to be nothing. It's going to be a blip, right? So
And if you can't even think that, think like 10 years from now, what is my future self who owns a $10 million or $20 million real estate portfolio going to think about this? And
right.
then it gives you context, it gives you perspective of like, this is really a minor thing. Like, why am I so upset about it?
Yeah. Absolutely. So if we could revisit this, if we could bring you back in a year and revisit this conversation, what does success look like for you, Letizia?
Success looks like more free time, more adventure and fun during the day, like every single day. Biara reaching a lot more women. I want to build a membership. I'm building a mastermind up front of about 30 women, really kind of close, just kind of really helping them grow their businesses, but a membership. And then Tycoon, having reached a lot of high income earners and have a following and have a community of its own outside of semi-retired MD. That would be really amazing.
Amazing. I'm gonna talk to you behind the scenes about the women group too. I want to talk about that because I have another podcast geared for women. Would love to have you on there. So we'll talk about that too. Final question for you. What advice would you give to someone listening who feels stuck in a high paying, high stress career and wants to create more freedom and impact in their life?
If you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, because you really have to understand and feel the pain of being an employee and understanding you have a ceiling and you're never going to have that freedom while you're trading time for money. You absolutely have to buy assets and assets pay you. And one of the things you were mentioning was, you're selling your primary home. Your primary home's not an asset. That's something you pay each month to support. That's not an asset. An asset is something that you buy that pays you every single month. And so you must understand that as an employee you have limitations. It's not to say that you're not going to keep a foot in the employee bucket. You may want to continue to be a half-time employee or even a full-time employee because you love it. But in the meantime, you must be building assets that make you cash flow on the side. That's the only way you're going to get true financial freedom is getting on that right side of Robert Kiyosaki's quadrant, which is business owner with a lot of leverage with people working for you, or real estate investor or some sort of investor that produces cash flow.
Yeah, so good. Well, thank you so much. How can people listening reach out to you and connect with you?
So I run Semi-Retired MD, so you can find our website, and we have a newsletter that I put out every single week. And we also have two Facebook groups. We have Semi-Retired Doctors for the MDs out there, DOs, and then we have Semi-Retired Professionals. We'll be building out Tycoon, and Semi-Retired Professionals may become Tycoon at some point fairly soon as well. And then, yeah, if you're a female business owner, definitely check out Biara.com.
How do you spell that?
Beyara, Biara.
Biara. And we're going to have all of Leticia's links and information in our show notes, as well as her bio. So if you want to learn more about her, go to the show notes. And if you're watching she and I on YouTube, please subscribe so you can get notified when we have more guests come on, which we're dropping 3 a week. So there's plenty of
Wow.
episodes and information for you all to be gathering and getting. And if you know someone who could use, which I know all of you know someone, if not yours, definitely yourself and others, share Letizia with everybody that you know so that you can support others. This is a collaboration. We should be connecting, collaboration, supporting, and raising each other up to creating financial success. There's plenty of money out there for everyone to be successful. And she's got the keys to the kingdom. So make sure that you reach out to her, connect with her, and share her with your friends and family. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, such as Amazon, Spotify, Apple, please leave us a review if it allows you to, 5 stars preferably, and leave us a comment. Leave Letizia a comment. This is how we are able to share our guests just like her to more of the listeners out there, so they can start growing their financial freedom. Letizia, before we wrap, is there anything that you'd like to share that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on?
I'm actually happy to also extend. We have this mini course called Ignite Your Journey, which is for people to decide if real estate, owning their own rental properties is right for them. So it's normally $200. I'm happy to give that to your community for free. So I'll send that link over to you later as well, so you can put that in the show notes. I think I recently heard a couple months ago a really great quote, which is, messy and perfect action is right every time, which is have a propensity to take action. Because if you just sit and on the sidelines and you don't take action, you don't get in the arena, like you were saying, life is going to pass you by and you're just going to live in regret. So the only way to get in the arena is to take some action and do the thing that scares you, because
Yeah.
that's what's going to get you there. So. That's my last piece of advice.
I love it. Growth is scary. If you want to grow, you got to get uncomfortable. You better start getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable because if you have a big vision and if you don't have a vision at all, you get to start there. Start creating a vision so that you can grow, get uncomfortable and create a life that you desire just like Letizia has and her dream life. If you are listening, I promise you all a gift. If you are, and thank you for your gift. I'm excited. I can't wait to, yes, please share that and please go grab it. And if you need, if you can't get to the show notes to grab her mini course, then reach out to her or reach out to me and we'll make sure that you get it. Because that's amazing. Believe me, it's an amazing gift. If you are looking to scale your business through visibility and you feel like you're doing all the things, we talked about social media, we talked about paid ads, we talked about different areas of getting visible, and you feel like it's just not happening for you and you're not getting the traction you want, then go ahead and download our free Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint to grab that. It's free. Take it, run with it, go take action, just like Letizia said. And make sure you go to semiretiredmd.com. That's the correct link, right?
Mhm.
Okay, semiretiredmd.com and go connect with Letizia and her team and get in her community. Thank you again, Letizia, for being here. I'm so grateful for your time.
Thank you, Heidi. That was really a beautiful interview. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I loved it. I can't wait to take action on my new portfolio. And thank you for listening to Letizia and I today. We will see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.